Welcome, agents, to another episode of Prime Tips. Today we're talking about decoding, and since I know absolutely nothing about decoding, I thought I'd bring in a guest agent, Agent Ntwrk80 from Central Illinois Resistance, and a decoder extraordinaire, so I'm told. Or he can at least give us the basics of it. So that's what we're going to look at today, is kind of some of the basics of decoding. And I'm probably going to let Ntwrk80 do most of the talking. I'll ask the questions. So, Ntwrk80, in a nutshell, what is decoding?
Well, decoding is part of the game that basically takes something that either NIA, the Shapers, NZIR, some part of the lore has encoded or encrypted, and they've taken a lot of times it's a code. So, game redeemable code, and they've encrypted it in some manner. Sometimes it's information. As you'll go through it, sometimes you'll see it be more information about some part of the gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the first times I think that I met you in person was up in Chicago, at the Chicago Anomaly, and I think that decoding gave us a bit of an edge in Chicago about a year
It
ago.
it it did,
Yeah.
and some of the previous anomalies it actually gave a bigger edge, but
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to come back with that.
That'd be good. So, if I'm thinking about decoding, what are any skills or talents that might make it easier for me to become a decoder or be a better decoder?
Well, I think the biggest thing is having an analytical mind. You've got to take a look at everything in a step-by-step process. You got to think of it that whoever did the encoding had to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not random.
Okay.
So there are going to be patterns, and definitely you have to be persistent. Some of these things, I've gone down rabbit holes where I started at 5 o'clock in the evening, and two a.m. I'm going, oh, I'm still working on this. I should probably go to sleep.
Well, persistence isn't my problem. I'll give up pretty quickly. I mean, I've tried a couple decoding things. And it's like, oh, I can do this, and then it's like 20 minutes. I'm like, nah, I'm confused. I'm going to stop. So evidently it is something that you do have to be analytical, be able to put things together, and just keep knocking at it until you get it.
And a good bit of luck helps on occasion, because some of these codes that have come out over the years, some people say that you can see the pattern or whatnot. Me personally, I'm pretty sure they guessed to get to that point.
Now, oddball question. I know we talk a lot about decoding. Have they ever done encoding, which is the
N-
opposite?
Not to my knowledge,
Uh huh.
but it is Ingress and it is Niantic, so who knows?
Yeah, they do throw Calvin ball in there every now and then, so you never know what's going to go on. So decoding is not really part of the scanner. It's more part of the overall game. A lot of it is probably tied to lore and that kind of stuff. Right now, we've got a decoding challenge that's part of the tessellation events, which makes sense because it's COVID-19. Not many people can get outside, and decoding is something I take that you can do in house. You wouldn't have to go out to do most of that stuff. Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's pretty much all done in your house, and there might be telegrams or other type of uh, chats that
Mm-hmm.
different groups, especially factional groups, get together and kind of help each other.
So it's not always a lone agent working on one thing. It's, hey, we're going to get together. We're going to try to figure out how to do this. You work on this part. I'll work on this part, and we'll put it together. Is that what happens?
Especially the larger codes, the
Okay.
things for like anomalies and that type of stuff. They take a lot more brain power, and so you'll get one person who'll say, "Hey, I see this," and that gets us to the next step, and then somebody else says, "Hey, okay, now that we've got here, then we move up to the next." Because it's not very often that the harder challenges are a single step. It's usually, first you got to take a look at this and find the code. Finding the code sometimes is the hard part. One of the challenges they had earlier this year, it had an audio file that you
Mm-hmm.
then had to take into a spectrum analysis tool, and that would then show you a picture that then had the codes or the actual characters in the picture that was part of the sound wave. and then you had to take that and decode it. So yeah, it's not always as straightforward where here's a piece of text, turn it into another piece of text.
But those straightforward ones are there
Yeah,
sometimes.
yep. A lot of times they're hidden in the HTML
Mm-hmm.
of posts that Niantic makes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the investigation blog entries. If you look at the source, there'll be a code in there somewhere.
Okay. All right. So in the past, decoding's been part of an Ingress event and gameplay. Where does that usually happen?
The anomalies have been a traditional place for a lot of decoding. The faction decoding teams for the anomalies, they take OPSEC to a new level. I mean, I'm not even sure that they tell each other that it's going on
Yeah.
sometimes. Um,
By the way, new players, OPSEC, that's operational security.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Um, you know, Basically the first rule of anomaly decoding is not to talk about anomaly decoding. Um,
Sort of like Fight Club. Nobody talks about Fight Club.
exactly. Um, and the reason for all that secrecy is because the information that is decoded can really give your side an advantage in the anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
It could be telling where the target portal is going to be. It could be telling where the opposition's target portal is going to be. It just depends on what information is given out there. And with Brian Rose returning to the Niantic team and the Ingress team, there's a lot of hopes that there's going to be more and more decoding because he was pretty big into decoding challenges in the early years with Ingress.
And I think that's kind of proven out because Brian was here just before COVID hit, and we saw this come in as part of what's happening with COVID. So that
Yep.
makes a lot of sense. So you talked about you can get those clues during anomalies. Anything else you might gain by way of say gear or gameplay from decoding stuff?
Most of the decoding gets you gear. It's not always really good gear. It's more of just a way of saying, "Yep, you got the right answer."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so sometimes they throw in some good stuff for the bigger codes. I mean, every once in a while you'll see a couple viruses or a Q cap or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for the most part, it's more about I did it when it comes to the everyday decoding.
Yeah, it's true. Uh, what about rules? Are there like unspoken rules or regular rules or
Pretty much the unspoken rule is don't spoil the answer for others.
okay, that makes sense.
Spamming out a decoded code to all the groups in that's pretty much a big no
Yeah.
for most decoding groups. Um, but it's not a problem though to ask for help and for people to give hints. I mean there are a lot of times you get stuck on one, you're on phase one, and everybody else is on the third or fourth part of that thing. You might
Mm-hmm.
ask for help, and they'll give you hints, and hopefully that'll be enough to jog your brain and send you along to the next thing. But yeah, for the most part, just keep your mouth shut and keep it to yourself so
Keep your
that
head down,
everybody else
keep
can have that.
working.
Yeah, that way everybody else can have that same aha moment when they get it
Cool.
because it's a lot more fun that way.
And it seems like time or speed is a factor in getting the reward. Is that true?
It,
Or
it, it is a lot of the codes are you know um, have a set number of redemptions, but obviously with the anomalies there's always a speed factor because
mm-hmm.
it's usually only a few days notice that you get the information before the anomaly. So but then on the other side, if you want to learn, there are places with a lot of codes from the past and the solutions that you can look at the code, do your work, figure it out, and then go back and check see what it
Yeah.
was.
I know with although I haven't been doing much with it, I've been kind of following the tessellation and the decoding challenge, and a lot of that is we're going to release this at X time, and the first agent to get in gets like 5 points for the team, and second or the next one from the other side gets 3 points. So doing it quickly and efficiently helps out a lot.
Yep,
Uh,
and that plays into why the groups kind of work together too.
mm-hmm.
Because when it's for points and team pride, get everybody together.
Okay. We already kind of mentioned that sharing answers is probably a big no-no. Uh, are there any other things that you probably don't want to share? I figured that you probably don't want to share your secrets with the other side?
For the most part, I mean, there are some cross factional decoding groups out there that
Mm-hmm.
try to help each other learn, because a lot of these codes, like I said, are pretty much here's a couple XMP or something like that. It's not a huge thing. So for the smaller codes, you'll see some people just helping each other out so that everybody can learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
But when it comes to anomaly,
yeah, when it comes to anomaly, OPSEC is key.
yeah, and also I guess that's kind of the same deal with
Uh, the
tessellation.
tessellations.
Yeah,
Yep.
same thing.
Yep.
So, not giving away any secrets. We don't want to break OPSEC, but what are some what are some of the basic tools that you might use to decode?
Well, for most people, I think it starts with some sort of text editor, just so you can keep track of everything. I
Okay.
personally use Notepad++, but it's not so much about the tool as just having a way to keep track of your steps as you go through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are all sorts of web-based cryptography tools that come into play. The one that gets mentioned and used the most in my circles is rumkin.com. They have a whole bunch of different ciphers that you can play with. They've got text manipulators. Like for instance, a lot of times for just the regular codes, Niantic likes to encrypt it, but then they also like scramble it. So you have to kind of figure out how they rotated it or whatnot to find it.
So they not only encode it, but they may salt it on top of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, they've so another tool that's useful to kind of as a add-on to the Rumkin tools is regex.ingress.codes. Um, Basically, what it is a regular expression engine that has a list of all of the keywords that Niantic is known to use. And a keyword in the decoding world is just a word that might be part of the lore. It might be part of the game. So, like a glyph name, or one of the character names, or an archetype. And most of the formats that Niantic uses, they'll have like some numbers, a couple letters, and then a keyword,
Mm-hmm.
and some more. Then another set of numbers, and another couple random alphanumerics.
Hmm.
Um, and knowing the keyword helps you find the noise inside of all the chaos, so to speak.
Cool.
Um, and the help on that page is pretty good. You don't have to know how to write regular expressions as much as you just have to kind of look at their help and kind of copy and paste. But like you can take something that you're trying to decode, or maybe you think you've unencrypted the first phase, and you want to see if there's a keyword in there. You can
Mm-hmm.
drop it in there, and it'll help you find possibilities.
Hmm, cool. And speaking of that, what's one of the most common codes or mysteries or things that they use to decode?
If in doubt, use Atbash.
Atbash.
Um, the Atbash Cipher, which Rumkin has, is one of the first ones on their page as well,
Mm-hmm.
is an um, old encryption algorithm, but it's one that Niantic seems to like to use.
So if you're going to start, Atbash it first, and then go from
Exactly.
there.
Yep.
Okay. So, and we kind of mentioned this a little bit. If you wanted to start decoding, is there something or someplace on the web I can go to?
Yep. Um, so the same people that brought the regular expression engine have a website. Unfortunately, they haven't updated it since like 2018,
Mm-hmm.
but they have this group used to put out every time a code would go out about a week or two after they knew most people had actually decoded it. They would put it out on their website with hints and then with an explanation of how to decode it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's still a great resource though, because you can go onto that site, take one that you haven't solved, run through it, look at the hints if you need to, and then see how they did it to explain it if you get stuck. So it's a good way to learn some of the tricks that Niantic likes to use.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Along the same lines, if I'm a total noob, uh, what would you say to try as like my first challenge, my live challenge to give it my best?
I would probably go to ingress.codes and just look at a few of them. IFS though, the Ingress First Saturday, their codes are probably the easiest codes because they're really meant not to be a challenge. They're usually one steppers.
Mm-hmm.
So like it may be, in Morse code and you need to decode it from Morse code to just regular clear text.
Mm-hmm.
Or they may have just done a simple Atbash or a Caesar shift, which is the one that everybody learns in school where, A is a certain number,
Yeah.
B, and so forth. Um, so it's things like that are easy to kind of get into. That's why as a past Ingress First Saturday POC, I like to make sure that I put it out there instead of just automatically decoding it. I know some groups just they have some people decode it and then here's the code for being part of IFS, but I like to leave it out there in the encrypted format and let people have a shot at it.
Now, are there? We talked about talking with other people for decoding and stuff like that. Is there
Uh-huh.
like a Telegram channel or something that people might be able to join in, just kind of lurk for a while and see what's going on, or is
I'm
that
pretty
is that faction?
Yeah, most of it is faction based. I'm pretty sure there's some decoding chat going on in the Ingress community forums.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the factions have their own specific chats and levels of chats.
Mm-hmm.
I myself am not even close to being let into the inner circles of the resistance decoders. I haven't earned my access at this point. I haven't
Well,
done big enough, great enough decoding to earn that. But um, so a lot of times it's word of mouth. You talk to another decoder, yeah, or you may be in your regular chat. You'll ask, "Hey, does anybody know anything about decoding?" And they'll say, "Well, yeah, so and so does it, I think." And then that's sort of how I got into it. I asked in our regular resistance chat here in Central Illinois, and somebody got me in touch with somebody from Iowa who does it, and they got me in touch with somebody from I think it was New Jersey, and it just kind of flowed from there.
yeah.
And I got eventually got invited to the right place and did the secret handshake and started learning what I was doing.
Well, that's great. And like I said, it's one of those that you're not going to step right into and be a wizard. It takes a while to get those skills and going, and so it's probably
I, I'm pr- I'm pretty sure some of these guys are actually androids. By the way, they decode some of these things, but you know,
yeah, it's a skill, I guess.
it
It's
is.
like some people are able to see links and fields, and other people like I don't understand how you're going to do this. Well, do this.
Yep.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Just tell me what to throw and when. Speaking of which, I asked about a week ago. You guys threw a pretty nice field north of us a couple times, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Decided to have a little blue vid fun, as we called it.
yeah.
Um, through I want to say it was like 30 layers over Springfield, Illinois, and it was a lot of fun.
Did you even notice the little triangle below yours?
We did. We
Okay.
did see your work, Dewey.
Yeah, that was me running around doing what I do. Let's get those cow units. We got to have that moo unit, you know.
Yeah, we captured a lot of corn units ourselves up here. So
Well, that's the way it is in Illinois. You know, you got to
yep,
get a lot of corn between the cities. Well, thanks a lot for giving us some information on decoding. It
no
gives us
problem.
a start, and who knows, we might bring you back for more of an in depth. And I actually might see you in the field, being as we're neighbors. Your cell's next to mine, so
Yeah, we're only about an hour and a half away.
yeah, it's not too bad. So thanks again, Ntwrk80. You got anything else you want to add?
Nope, think that's it for today.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for having me. And again, agents, we'll see you in the field.